Well, this is a live look at the Rafah border. Today is the final day of a 4-day truce between Israel and Hamas, and we're waiting for word right now on the expected release of another group of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners. Talks are underway to extend the truce to allow more people to be free. Now, more aid is entering Gaza during this pause in the fighting. Egyptian, Qatari, and American negotiators are reportedly closing in on a possible extension. Israel and Hamas are both open to the idea of extending this pause. Joining me now to discuss the latest on the humanitarian situation in Gaza is Tommaso Della Longa. He's the spokesperson with the International Federation of Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies. Good morning. Thank you for talking with us. It is good to see you again. So we have seen long lines of trucks waiting to get into Gaza. What is the latest on that front? How much aid has been able to get through during this window?
Thanks a lot for having me again. Well, we are talking about hundreds of trucks. Just to give you an example, for the first time, I would say ever, or at least in the last weeks of heavy shelling and fighting, we had 150 trucks finally able to arrive to the north of Gaza, which was almost an accessible area. And colleagues of Palestine Red Crescent was able to bring the food, water, medicines, and medical equipment. So it's a very positive news. Then we had other trucks arriving in the south and west and east. So it was, for sure, it was a kind of a fast track versus what it happened before, this pause to the fighting. But then, of course, is this enough? No, it's not enough because the needs are still immense. And of course, if this pause will not continue, needs will continue to grow up when the conflict will restart.
Can you explain to us and to our viewers, when we see these trucks go through, filled with vital supplies, how long does it take for things to be distributed?
Well, yes, of course, it's a very good question. Well, first, it really depends on the access, and on in the different areas of Gaza. So just to give you an idea, we tried in the last, I would say 10 days before the pause to the fighting to enter in the north of Gaza, but then it was not possible because, of course, you need to have an agreement among the parties to make sure that the convoy is safe and can enter in the areas. Then second, of course, there is safety in general because during the fighting there was not really safety in every part of Gaza. So it's difficult to organize a distribution of aid if there is no safety, first and foremost, for the civilians who need to get the relief items. And then third, of course, is the amount of aid. So before, the dispose was around 50 trucks per day were entering, and now we're talking about 200, which again is still not enough. But of course, this number is a positive news because the more the number of aid will grow, the more we'll be able to do distribution. So, for instance, in this day was much more faster to enter in schools that are sheltered for Palestinians, to bring aid, to go to the north, to go to hospitals, because this is the other great important part, refurnish hospital with medicine and medical equipment.
Tommaso, can you give us some insight as to what role the Red Cross, the Red Crescent, is playing with the release of hostages? And there have been some reports that members of your federation have been able to visit some of those hostages. Can you please enlighten us on that front?
Well, actually, I want to make clear that our family has two different bodies. So one is the one that I represent, the International Federation of Red Cross and Crescent, and we are working with Palestine Red Crescent and Egyptian Red Crescent on the entrance of humanitarian aid and support on humanitarian aid. Then there are our colleagues of the International Committee of the Red Cross, our partner, who are the one who have, let's say, our leading agency in times of armed conflict, and they are the one who have a clear mandate in this kind of situation. So they didn't spare any effort since the beginning of this situation to visit the hostages or to bring medical assistance to the hostages, and of course to facilitate any possible agreement among parties. So this is the main part. Parties need to agree, otherwise the Red Cross cannot really interfere, and this is what they succeed on. So mainly, probably you saw, I'm sure, in the last days, the images of colleagues of the ICRC, the International Committee of the Red Cross, facilitating the transportation of the hostages that were freed to Egypt.